Hey everybody, and welcome back to another RCT2 hacking tutorial. Today we expand our little mini park a little further and fill in this little empty gap we had inside of Gemini. We're going to build a custom go-kart track, and on the surface, a custom go-kart track is pretty easy. You can just make it go multiple laps, but what I like to do is something that you see at least in a lot of American go-kart tracks. A little less so in Europe, but I've seen it there too, is a separate pit lane. So where the vehicles are going to start on a separate pit lane, they will go out onto the course. They're going to make 4 laps of the circuit, and then they're going to come in and park again. So all told, pretty straightforward stuff, but we're going to take a look at that one here. So let's get into it. So I've already made a copy over here just to a little more easily explain what we're doing. So we are actually going to start with the go-kart base track itself, just because of the way it stacks the carts and how it runs the operation. We're going to merge it into a new track while keeping the continuous circuit mode of the go-kart track, so it will run in race mode just like any normal go-kart track would. Then we'll transition it into what you see as the red track here, which is going to make 2 laps of our circuit. And then we'll transition it into the yellow track, which you can see right here in the middle. And then we'll make another 2 laps of the circuit, and then we're going to pull it right back at the end. We use 2 different tracks here so they don't merge together. You can also do this with the water slide track with the open tube and the closed tube. So you have some other options there. Theoretically, you could do a 3rd lap if you wanted to with something like that. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is just kind of a general annoyance of the go-kart tracks is when they cross, they have the potential to get stuck. If you have carts on one side and carts on another side, they can, on occasion, hit each other and then get stuck and kind of clog up. So you kind of need to plan your layout a little more carefully. If that were not the case, I would do a lot more crossovers and things like that just to make it look a little more realistic. But in general, I'm trying to avoid that just to keep it pretty simple. So let's go ahead and just build a little test one right here, and we can kind of talk through how we do it. So we'll start out with our station. If you can make a longer station, it's going to be better because you can get more carts in there. Now, I don't recommend arbitrarily increasing the amount of vehicles here. So, like, you can use the hack cheat here and we have that turned on. So let's go back down to 1 car piece. So the standard one here would be for this size stall, probably like 10 cars. But you could, theoretically bump it up to 20 or more. Capacity-wise, that's cool, but you don't want to do it because if these stack up, when the peeps come back in, they pick either left or right, and it's sort of a randomized thing. If they all stack up on one side and go out the back of your station, the ride isn't going to reset properly because the peeps getting on can't get onto that cart if it's out the back of the station. So that actually limits us over here. So you can see how tiny our station is here, which is why we only have the little like 7-car go-kart track, just because it kind of kept getting stuck and was being annoying. So we're going to make this decently large. And then we are going to go ahead and switch to our first track. We'll put the mini coaster right here. We need a straight piece right at the beginning to merge through. So let's just make a straight piece there. And then we will get going. So we can do something like we're doing over in this other one. You don't necessarily have to copy the layout exactly, but we can do something similar. So I wanted to get this crossover done right away, and then we'll cross back over again. You'll find as you play with the layout that you can do a number of different things with it. So don't worry too hard about what you're doing there. So we're on the inside. This one will be outside. And this one too will be outside. Go-karts at the moment, I don't believe they can do diagonals, although that might have changed by now. So something to keep in mind as you're going through. You want to avoid the diagonals, but like I said, that may have been fixed by now, actually. So something to consider. So I just try and avoid those in general, and also it just kind of looks strange and it's a little bit hard to theme. So we'll keep it interesting enough, but I like to have a good mix of left and right, and you can do elevation changes if you want. And this one I decided not to, but sometimes elevation changes make it look nice. All right, so here's our first lap right there. 2 laps, I suppose it is, because you really are using it twice. So we will set up our next one here. And we're going to go ahead and cross this once again. And so now, just to make sure it doesn't merge, we're just going to bank it. And a little tedious to go ahead and put this in, but not terrible. Unless you're building a really long go-kart track, in which case the water slide trick may be an easier option for you. Just because it's a differing piece, it doesn't automatically merge with the other piece. You can't, for example, build the green track that we just built here a second time around, because that will merge into the original portion of the track, and then the whole thing will be stuck in an infinite loop. Want to avoid that if you can. The challenge that you run into as far as the karts intersecting on different laps is a bit of a challenge. The variation in speed between karts is actually pretty substantial, and you'll find that the fastest to the slowest is often among either a lap and a half or up to 2 laps on even a short course like this one. So just something to kind of consider as you're going along, is it can be really easy to get a go-kart way ahead of another one, and especially if there's some kind of a traffic jam on the way out of the station, which there occasionally is, heading into some of the corners. It can be really brutal on distance, and then you just gotta hope that they don't collide with each other, and then sometimes you're gonna have to go back and reset it, unless you get the timings just right and eliminate some of the crossovers, in which case you're good. All right, so we're almost done here. We're on our lap number 4. And there's no reason that it needs to be only 2 wide. You can go wider if you want. I've just typically figured that 2 wide looks about right for a realistic go-kart track at a theme park. It's not terribly much wider than that. You could probably get away with 3, but anything more than that I think is going to look too huge, because the karts are pretty small in the game, and I think 2 tiles across represents a pretty wide little margin there. Alright, so we're going to put 1 out the back here. So that way we've got something to merge into, which we'll do that right now. We will also merge the front. Go ahead and merge that one in. And now we're going to pull out a piece of this real quick. Get a straight section here. Put back our single station, and now we're going to build up and loop this around. We're going to build back and loop this around. So that works because this is red as a complete circuit. But we already did the merge here from go-kart to the green track. So now the go-karts will automatically merge onto the green track and start fooling around on the mini coaster track, even though the game thinks that this is a complete circuit here. So that by the time they go from green to gray, back to the go-kart track, and then back on, the game is really just thinking, well, it's just completed one of these laps. Because even though we're going 4 laps around our track, what we're going to do is make sure that we select a single lap on the race mode for this ride. So just 1 single lap is all we need. And we are go with 8 cars here just to make certain. Now, Go-Kart doesn't have the option for test, so what we're going to do is just kind of temporarily bump this onto corkscrew mode, and then we're going to test, and then we are going to transition this right back to Go Karts. So there we go through our test. So you can kind of see that initial bump there, which is putting Teal Kart way behind of Blue. So you can kind of see the jostling going on, and now they're holding together pretty well here. But like when I tested the other test one there, the red and yellow track, a couple of them shot away. And now you can kind of see the black cart just taking off pretty far in front. So within just one lap, you can see it's probably a third of a lap difference between black car and teal car. So there's a pretty substantial change there, and you kind of have a split pack here between the front couple and the back couple. So we'll just kind of watch that as we go. Our crossing area is really just here, so if there's an issue, that's what we're going to have. But the nice thing is we're about to hit that last cross area before this black cart's going to get there. So he's about to take lap 4, which he'll do here on the gray track. So he's crossed over, and we've set this so that the final crossover puts us on the outside lane, which is the one that transitions back to the brake run, or sorry, the station, pit lane. So we will go ahead and let him do that. The other ones come in for their final lap. Now, the only challenge with this kind of a ride is that in the game, the winner of the race gets a victory lap. And that's well and good, except that one lap here is considered 4 laps. So we're going to be sitting there for just a little bit while this guy completes 4 laps. But the nice thing is, because of the disparity between first and last place, it's actually not that long of a wait. And the amount of time that it takes the peeps to get out and load into the next one is not a huge difference. But again, bigger station, you can get more carts in there, and you can make it fit well. So really, that's all you need. And then once you're done, you can just take the mini coaster track here, and you can change it to Crooked House. You can take the other mini coaster track here, you can change it to Crooked House, or any one of those, and then you can take the Go Kart track here, and you can change it to whatever you want. So you can take this guy here and change him over to elevator or whatever works. So no real issues there. And then you just theme it up. And what I typically do is just put, especially if you're using custom scenery, I use just a custom path texture, usually a little bit lighter than the main path, so it looks a little more like concrete. And then you can kind of do your different theming throughout the area. And some roadway lines and things like that. I usually have a little kind of maintenance work area in the back with some kind of a gate or something. And then some little bollards here for the coaster, because we certainly don't want anybody taking out some supports on Gemini. But that's really all there is. It's a pretty easy one, and it's fun if you're building a Six Flags or a Cedar Fair park. A lot of their parks have go-kart tracks, less than they used to, I suppose, but they're still a thing. So it's a pretty nice design that you can use for really any park. So hopefully that was useful for you guys, and we will have more to come. But our little park here, let's back up a little less. But our little park here is growing, so we've kind of filled out this whole area here. So we're going to keep on moving back, and then we've got one more on this side, and then I've already got a couple more rides built on this area here. So we're ready to go with a few more videos coming up. If you've got other suggestions, things you'd like to see, ride you've seen somewhere and you'd like to see how they did it, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I will add it to my list and put it into this park. We've got a pretty good list going, so this should be a pretty substantial park by the time we're done. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.